18 miles wide. It had not been discovered before because it's under ice. It's under a lot of ice.
Russian Air Force pilot was on a routine flight when he saw what seemed to be a stretch of mountains extending endlessly into the gigantic expanse of Yakutia. But once he descended, he realized something even more shocking. That line of stripes was moving, and it looked out of this world. After so many years, a man hasn't given up. A group led by Georgy Sidorov has explored the high and isolated parts of Yakutia. Why has the pilot remained silent about what he saw that day? Let's explore the findings the Kremlin doesn't want you to know. The terrifying stone giants of Yakutia. The adventure began with Georgy Sidorov and his team of 19 researchers who set out to investigate Yakutia, a peak rising 3,600 feet above sea level. This part of Russia was especially hard to get to, monitored closely during the Soviet era with many checkpoints, suggesting it was not just secluded by nature, but also intentionally kept out of reach. This expedition was launched after reports emerged about large stone structures found in an often overlooked region of the world. It seems the team was motivated by the allure of discovering something spectacular in a place where few have ventured, perhaps in an attempt to spice up a rather dull historical narrative. When the team arrived, what they found surpassed even their highest expectations, or at least that's what their excited reports would have us believe. They claimed to have discovered what they called an enormous supermegalith. This term alone suggests an over-the-top portrayal. It wasn't just an important historical find, but a massive structure that, according to them, challenged the usual understanding of archaeology and history. It appeared as though the remnants of a long-lost era were almost laughing at the arrogance of modern science, presenting a structure so large and so well-crafted it seemed to mock our modern attempts to decode the practices of ancient builders. The enormous size and detailed construction of this structure, placed in a remote and largely ignored area, raised many questions. Why build something so big in a place that's out of sight and hard to reach? What purpose did it serve? What do the scale and craftsmanship tell us about the people who built it? In academic circles, such a find would definitely spark a series of heated discussions and research efforts, all trying to explain the builder's methods and motives. The site prompts us to be skeptical. Are we just applying our own ideas of grandeur and complexity to ancient cultures based on a few stone ruins? In our excitement to elevate the importance of these findings, might we be ignoring simpler explanations or even misunderstanding the evidence? Often the excitement around such large discoveries can cloud the judgment of even the most disciplined scholars, leading to theories that may veer far from the truth. The 2013 findings by Sidorov and his colleagues might not have unraveled all the complexities of this historic puzzle, but they certainly ignited a lot of discussions. The discovery didn't just challenge our basic understanding of history, it shattered it, compelling scholars and skeptics alike to reevaluate their stance on what is possible in ancient history. This find doesn't just offer a new piece of the historical puzzle, it forces us to reconsider the very picture we are trying to piece together. With such a discovery, the academic world finds itself both enriched and perplexed, gifted with a new subject for examination that promises as many questions as it might answer. The implications of such a find are vast, suggesting that our ancestors were perhaps far more advanced and widespread than previously thought. The so-called Yakutia megaliths have caught the attention of many with their massive blocks of stone, which seem to be made of granite. These stones are perfectly shaped with flat surfaces and sharp angles, suggesting they were crafted with care and purpose. What's truly shocking about these stones is their weight. Each one weighs over 3,000 tons, possibly making them the heaviest stones ever found in history. These huge stones are not just piled up randomly. They are arranged in a specific order that shows signs of thoughtful planning. They're stacked up to about 140 feet high. This raises some pretty straightforward questions. How did people manage to carve such massive stones, move them over difficult terrain, and stack them so high in such a remote and tough-to-reach area? The notes from Georgy Sidorov, the leader of the research team, claim these structures could be around 100,000 years old. This timeline is mind-boggling because it suggests that there were people with advanced skills and knowledge tens of thousands of years before what most history books claim. If this is true, it implies there was a civilization way back then that knew things we can't imagine even today. The idea that such an advanced group existed so long ago is not just surprising, it's almost unbelievable. It would mean we have been underestimating the intelligence and abilities of our ancient ancestors, or we might be overestimating how much we really understand about our past. This concept could turn the study of human history on its head, suggesting a completely different story about the early days of mankind. However, let's not jump to conclusions too quickly. The presence of these megaliths, as impressive as they are, doesn't automatically prove the existence of a super-advanced ancient civilization. These findings could be misinterpreted, or perhaps there's a bit of wishful thinking influencing how we view them. After all, making big claims requires solid proof, and there's a heavy burden of evidence needed to support such revolutionary ideas. Having uncovered giant structures that defy explanation, the Yakutia megaliths promise revelations. We stand at the brink of a historical breakthrough. The Yakutia megaliths stir up quite a debate, and for good reason. They're like a big hint in understanding the story of human history, but they leave us scratching our heads more than giving us answers. Who built these massive structures? And how did they manage to move and carve such huge stones? What happened to this civilization that they just vanished, leaving barely any other clues about their existence? And perhaps the most crucial question, can we definitively prove that these stones were shaped by human hands and aren't just natural rock formations? As the debates and research continue, these giant stones challenge our knowledge of human history. They might be evidence of a forgotten era of human brilliance, or they might just show that there's a lot we don't yet know about our own past. For the time being, they grab the attention of researchers and historians, urging us to rethink our assumptions about what early humans were capable of and how our history really unfolded. Georgy Sidorov and his team were probably amazed by the massive size of the structures they discovered. It's important to stay grounded about this excitement, though. Finding such a huge monument, hidden away and possibly dating back to a civilization long gone, might feel like something out of a storybook. Let's not get carried away with the romantic idea of uncovering a lost civilization without considering the practical aspects. It's essential to question and verify every piece of evidence meticulously. Were these megaliths truly engineered by ancient humans? Are there scientific methods that can back this up without a shadow of a doubt? These are the hard questions that need answering. Moreover, if these structures were indeed made by humans, what tools and techniques did they use? This query opens up a broader discussion about the technology and skills ancient civilizations might have possessed. Exploring these possibilities can shed light on the sophistication and resourcefulness of our ancestors. The disappearance of the builders of these megaliths is another mystery. Did they migrate, die out due to some disaster, or were they assimilated into other cultures? Investigating these aspects might help us understand more about the migration patterns, social structures, and survival strategies of ancient peoples. Additionally, the fact that such significant structures have remained undiscovered or unexplained until now suggests that there may be many more surprises waiting in our human history hidden or misunderstood. Now, each discovery like the Yakutia megaliths is a piece of the larger puzzle of our past, pushing scholars to piece together the fragments of what we know, question the gaps in our understanding, and explore further into the unknown. Sidorov's hurried notes, which he regarded as essential for making sense of the site, described enormous granite blocks carefully arranged to form a massive wall using a technique that reminded him of sophisticated ancient masonry. This setup suggested a level of skill in building that was not expected from that era, according to him. He was quick to draw parallels between this structure and famous ancient sites like Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, even though he claimed this find was distinct in its own right. These comparisons, however, may be a bit of a stretch, aimed more at boosting the site's historical significance rather than offering a sober analysis. Sidorov noted that this wall stretched about 700 feet, with each stone around 65 feet long and towering between 16 and 23 feet high. Numbers like these are impressive, but they also raise a rather skeptical point. Are we too quick to attach importance to a large pile of stones just because of their enormous size? Additionally, the narrative surrounding these discoveries seems overly eager to place this site in the spotlight without solid proof of its historical importance. The push to label it a masterpiece of ancient engineering might be jumping the gun, especially when there's a lot about the site that calls for a more cautious approach. The term architectural sophistication gets thrown around a bit too freely, and one has to wonder if we're seeing a genuine historical marvel or if there's a bit of wishful thinking and a dash for academic recognition involved. This brings us to a broader point. How we interpret ancient sites often says more about us today than about the past. Historians and archaeologists build stories around these findings, and in doing so, they sometimes project modern ideas and biases onto ancient stones. This can obscure simpler explanations and downplay the real ingenuity involved in using the materials and technology available at the time. The discussion that follows such discoveries highlights the need for solid scientific methods in archaeology. Without these, we risk turning these ancient sites into mere attractions tailored to fit modern narratives rather than truly understanding them. The hype around such discoveries often overshadows the basic, crucial steps of historical verification and understanding the context, leaving us with tales that might captivate more than they educate. The figures in Sidorov's findings were not mere numbers. They signified a massive human achievement, one that initially seemed absurd when measured against the limited technology available at the time. As Sidorov and his team delved into the origins of this impressive structure, they entertained a number of theories. A prominent theory suggested that it was crafted by an ancient civilization, one that supposedly had access to technology and wisdom far surpassing what was considered possible for that era. This theory not only sparked curiosity but demanded a serious reconsideration of what ancient cultures were capable of. It hinted at a highly advanced society that, for some reason, had disappeared from our historical records. A major point of interest in Sidorov's report were the circular holes found in some of the stones, which were remarkably well-rounded, appearing too precise for the basic tools of ancient times. Every unearthed stone deepens the legends. Ancient builders achieved wonders, revealing forgotten civilizations through their creations. The findings at the archaeological site weren't just interesting, they were startling. Many stones there didn't simply look weathered. They seem to have been altered with great energy. Some stones looked as if they had been melted or reshaped, indicating that intense heat or another powerful technique had been used on them. This wasn't a small, trivial detail. It suggested that the ancient builders might have known some sophisticated methods for working with stone, possibly even applying heat directly at the site. Sidorov also considered the possibility that these changes might have resulted from some catastrophic event, like a huge explosion, as the large rocks scattered around seemed to tell a story of being blown apart by some formidable force. These observations raised many questions about why the structure was built and what eventually happened to the people who built it. Sidorov's notes on additional structures nearby emphasized the site's complexity even more. He mentioned a strange setup of huge boulders placed vertically on a massive foundation, indicating a style of construction that seemed too advanced for its time. The ongoing discussion about these findings often swung back to the deep skepticism that usually meets such unconventional theories. Some might argue this approach to history adds unnecessary drama, proposing exciting yet possibly doubtful changes to our understanding of past civilizations. The idea that our historical views of human capabilities could be deeply flawed is both intriguing and slightly unsettling. This highlights how much we still have to discover and prompts us to reconsider what we might be overlooking or underestimating in our historical narratives. Further pondering these discoveries brings us to a broader consideration about the accuracy and completeness of our historical records. How many other sites, currently overlooked as ordinary, might be holding evidence of advanced ancient techniques? How frequently have we underestimated the cleverness of our ancestors because of our own limited view of the past? These findings challenge us to rethink our past, urging us to acknowledge the possible complexities and technological achievements that might be hidden within ancient ruins. This situation often prompts a wider reflection on the essence of historical truth. Are there other sites dismissed as typical that could be harboring evidence of advanced ancient methods? How often might we have misjudged our ancestors' ingenuity due to our own prejudices about the past? Such discoveries encourage us to question the established stories we've been told, pushing us to adopt a more critical and open-minded stance towards our historical legacies. This back and forth between startling revelations and critical skepticism serves as a vivid reminder of the complexities involved in piecing together our past. It underscores the ongoing debate between established historical narratives and new, sometimes radical theories that challenge our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of. This exploration is not just about filling gaps in our historical knowledge, but about challenging the very framework of that knowledge. Sidorov recounted experiencing strange events during their exploration, particularly with the compasses of the team acting up around the megaliths. The compass needles spun wildly, pointing in all directions, which led them to theorize about some kind of negative geomagnetic field in the area, possibly left over from an ancient energy source. This isn't the first time such magnetic anomalies have been observed. Similar disturbances have been noted at other ancient sites worldwide, sparking discussions about whether ancient peoples understood the Earth's magnetic fields better than we previously thought. It seems they might have had methods to manipulate or utilize these magnetic forces in ways that modern science still can't fully explain. However, worsening weather conditions cut short their ability to dig deeper into these findings. Despite these limitations, the data they collected provided important clues about the size and layout of the ruins. When Sidorov and his team had to leave, the unsolved nature of the Yakutia megaliths became even more compelling. The massive size and unclear origins of these structures continue to puzzle researchers. If humans indeed constructed these and not just natural rock formations, how did an advanced society manage to thrive in such a hostile environment known for its fierce climate and extremely cold winters? What drove them to settle in such a difficult place? Logically, it would make more sense for people to move south to warmer areas where living and building a community would be easier. These questions suggest that the people who built these structures either had compelling reasons to stay in such a harsh environment, or perhaps we are missing a simpler explanation. Could there have been unique resources or strategic benefits that made living there worthwhile? Or are we perhaps making too much of what could be a natural geological feature? This ongoing puzzle highlights how archaeology often provides us with pieces of information that hint at grand stories, possibly leading us to ignore simpler explanations in favor of more elaborate historical narratives. Furthermore, the consistent occurrence of such magnetic oddities at ancient sites raises another layer of questions. Did ancient builders choose these locations because of the magnetic properties, or did they actually have the capability to alter the Earth's magnetic fields through their constructions? This scenario invites a deeper reflection on our assumptions about past technologies and the capabilities of ancient civilizations. It challenges us to consider whether we might be underestimating the ingenuity and resourcefulness of our ancestors. As researchers continue to piece together these fragments, the true nature of ancient practices and their reasons for choosing such extreme environments for their structures remain an ongoing subject of debate and study. As we delve into Siberia's Ice Age, discoveries about resilient ancient communities enrich our knowledge. The roots of human history may reach deeper than ever imagined. Around 20,000 years ago, during the peak of the last ice age, the world was a very different place. While vast sheets of ice covered much of North America and northern Europe, Siberia managed to escape the full force of the freezing temperatures. Instead of a solid sheet of ice, Siberia was dominated by the Mammoth Steppe, a large, cold, dry region filled with tough grasses and other plants. Despite the severe conditions, this area was surprisingly rich in food and other resources. This harsh yet resourceful ecosystem supported a wide array of large animals. Woolly mammoths and massive rhinoceroses roamed the land alongside the predators that hunted them. The availability of such diverse wildlife not only supported animal life, but also enabled human populations to do more than just survive. They could build thriving communities, even under the difficult conditions of the Ice Age. Archaeological discoveries have shown that people lived in Siberia during this time. Tools and other artifacts have been found, revealing that these ancient people were more than just occasional visitors. They had a permanent presence. One of the most telling discoveries was made by Russian scientists who found a site from the last ice age where ancient hunters had lived. This site was rich in stone tools, ivory tools, and bones from various animals like mammoths, bison, bears, lions, and hares, all hunted and utilized by these Ice Age hunters. The significance of these findings goes beyond mere survival. The tools and bones tell us that these ancient humans were adept at using their environment to their advantage. They developed specialized tools to help them hunt large and dangerous animals, using every part of the animals for food, clothing, and making more tools. This ability to adapt and innovate was crucial for living in such a tough environment. Moreover, the social aspects of these Ice Age communities are fascinating to consider. The thriving human populations in such harsh climates suggest a level of social organization and cooperation that was sophisticated for the time. Sharing resources, collective hunting strategies, and passing down knowledge and skills from one generation to the next would have been essential for their survival and prosperity. The archaeological sites also provide a glimpse into the daily lives of these ancient people. The presence of homes or communal structures, hearths for cooking and warmth, and areas for tool making indicate that these communities were well established and organized. They were not wandering nomads, but were people who knew how to settle and make the most of their surroundings. This deeper understanding of how humans lived, adapted, and thrived in Siberia during the Ice Age challenges our simplistic view of prehistoric human life. Instead of seeing these individuals as primitive survivors barely hanging on, we begin to see them as resourceful and resilient innovators. They were not merely at the mercy of their environment, but were active participants in shaping their lives and communities. It's easy to romanticize these ancient Siberians as rugged survivors, cleverly using their environment to their advantage. But imagine the reality: surviving in a relentless, freezing landscape where every day was a fight for survival. While it's tempting to see these archaeological sites as straightforward proof of human resilience and skill, it's also a bit simplistic. These findings also prompt us to think deeper. How did these Ice Age people manage their daily lives in such a brutal environment? What kind of social structures did they develop to distribute food and resources? It wasn't just about having the right tools or being lucky with their location. Surviving likely involved complex social arrangements and a deep understanding of their harsh surroundings, aspects that are often overlooked when we focus on the dramatic parts of their lives. Furthermore, while the discovery of these sites often highlights the ingenuity of Ice Age people, it's essential to recognize the full scope of their lives. It wasn't just about hunting big animals. It was about forming communities, sharing resources, and making countless daily decisions that allowed them to live in such an inhospitable place. In discussing Siberia during the Ice Age, it's crucial to move beyond just celebrating these ancient people as masters of their environment. We should also consider the real challenges they faced, the social bonds they formed, and the strategies they used to overcome the extreme conditions. This more balanced view provides a fuller picture of their lives and challenges the often one-sided narrative of triumph against the odds. Using a technique that measures carbon isotope ratios, researchers have determined that certain artifacts were placed at their site about 30,000 years ago. This places these artifacts at a time period that is twice as old as those found at Monteverde in Chile, which was previously considered the oldest evidence of human life in the Americas. Donald Grayson, a well-known paleoanthropologist from the University of Washington in Seattle, emphasized that this discovery is exceptionally important because it predates any other confirmed evidence of humans living in the harsh, cold regions of Siberia. The importance of this finding raises several questions, as it rewrites a significant chapter of human history. It's necessary to ask why this revelation is so disruptive to our existing understanding of human history. As we delve deeper into the historical and environmental challenges of the era, we uncover a complex story. During the same time period, much of northern Europe was covered by thick ice sheets, which made large areas unlivable. This ice barrier greatly restricted human movement and limited access to crucial resources. As a result, human settlements in Europe were mostly confined to the southern regions. Although these areas were not covered in ice, they still faced a harsh, cold climate. These southern refugees provided shelter for both humans and animals, though the available resources were minimal compared to the resource-rich mammoth steppe of Siberia. Continuing with this line of thought, if it's true that the Siberian megaliths were built during this ice age, it suggests that the societies involved were not just getting by, but actually thriving in the cold environment. This idea suggests that these societies were not only surviving, but also succeeding in a challenging environment, which could mean that the mammoth steppes' relative abundance of resources supported larger populations, enabling them to undertake significant building projects. This perspective challenges our usual views on prehistoric human survival and capability. The Yakutia megaliths challenge the foundations of archaeological history. Are Siberia's old stones telling true stories? It's smart to be a bit skeptical about these new discoveries. The idea that ancient people were incredibly skilled and could control their environment is interesting, but we might be getting carried away. Could our excitement make us see more in these findings than is actually there? It's true that these discoveries push back what we thought we knew about human history, but it's important to ask if we might be interpreting these findings too generously. When we study history, we should also think about why we study it the way we do. Are we too quick to look for signs of incredible human achievements? Do our hopes and expectations influence how we interpret old findings? This kind of self-reflection is crucial as we try to understand the real story of human history, encouraging us to be more careful and perhaps even a bit more critical of the evidence and how we see it. The recent findings of large stone structures in Yakutia have stirred up fresh debates, especially among those who believe in less mainstream historical theories. These include the idea that there was an advanced civilization before a huge disaster wiped out most of its traces. Supporters of this idea point to stories from different cultures around the world about great societies that seem to have disappeared, leaving little behind. This fits into a broader narrative that suggests we may have lost significant chapters of human history. However, such discussions often choose parts of the evidence that support dramatic stories and ignore those that don't. This selective approach to history can make the past seem more fantastic than it perhaps was, drawing us to sensational conclusions that might not hold up under more rigorous examination. This pattern of thinking not only shapes how we view history, but also reflects our desire for a past filled with awe and remarkable achievements, akin to the tales of ancient myths. Interestingly, despite the potential importance of the Yakutia site in challenging or adding to our understanding of history, there hasn't been much effort to further investigate it. This lack of exploration raises quite a few eyebrows and prompts some to wonder if important details are being overlooked or intentionally ignored. Why there hasn't been more curiosity from the scientific community to delve deeper here is puzzling, and has led some to speculate about the reasons behind this apparent disinterest. The Russian government has officially stated that these megalithic structures are natural formations. This quick dismissal, without thorough archaeological examination, seems hasty and somewhat dismissive. Skeptics find this hard to accept, arguing that the structure's precise angles and neat arrangement look anything but natural. They point out that these features are very similar to those of other known man-made megalithic sites across the globe. The discussions about the Yakutia megaliths bring to light the complex dynamics between established historical scholarship and alternative historical theories. They compel us to think about why some archaeological sites are not studied extensively, and why some theories gain popularity despite limited evidence. This controversy is not merely about the physical stones, but what they represent in the ongoing conversation about human history. It challenges us to reflect on the politics of archaeology and history. What is explored, what is ignored, and who gets to decide what's historically important and what isn't. The debate surrounding the Yakutia megaliths is therefore about more than just determining the origin of some stones. It's about confronting how these stones might shake up or reinforce our collective understanding of the human journey. The idea that these Yakutia megaliths could be part of a forgotten chapter in human history isn't something we should dismiss lightly. What might we discover if we were to properly excavate and study these stones? Could they turn out to be evidence of people living and building there long ago? Or are they simply a natural oddity created by geological processes? If indeed these stones were found to be man-made, the implications would be monumental. Such a discovery could force us to rethink and possibly rewrite history books. It would suggest that ancient civilizations were more widespread and technologically advanced than we currently believe, challenging our views on the architectural and technological skills of our ancestors. This could shift our understanding of how and where ancient people lived and built their societies. Could the Yakutia Mountains be hiding more than just old rocks, perhaps discoveries that could change what we know about history? What do you think is being kept from us? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.